So, should I begin then, ma'am?
Yeah, I think you should begin, Sarabjit.
Yeah. So, good morning and welcome to this first leadership series of CI Maharashtra panel on women empowerment. And the first speaker that we have in this series is Miss Anjali Pandey. She is the chairperson of Indian Women Network, Western Region, and also Chief Operating Officer of Cummins India. And we also have our convener of the panel, Ms. Kavita Kaushik. She is also from Cummins India, Quality Champion, Director, Head Quality and Six Sigma, Cummins India. So this leadership series basically tries to celebrate and amplify stories of remarkable individuals and how their journey has been and how they've been able to achieve great strides in their both personal professional life and been able to come to this leadership position. And I hope in today's session you gain valuable insights and meaningful insights and get some inspiration as we move along the series. So I now invite Ms. Kavita Kaushik to please introduce Ms. Anjali Pandey and take the session forward. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thanks a lot, Sarabjit.
Yes.
So everyone on the webinar today, we start with celebrating our, women leadership series with Anjali as being the first one to be here on this webinar. And as most of you all might be knowing, Anjali, she is the Chief Operating Officer for Cummins in India. And she is responsible for driving profitable growth for all Cummins businesses, plus providing leadership and direction to execute the organization's strategy and achieve the business revenue targets. So her priorities include developing trusted partnerships with key customers and stakeholders and building a strong and diverse talent pool, and also improving the operational performance with deeper synergies between Cummins businesses and functions. And she has had a very diverse expertise with 2 decades in manufacturing. Her qualifications include a degree in production engineering and an MBA in finance and strategy from the Kelley School of Business. She's also a certified auditor, and she has many, many accolades, from Cummins as well as globally, for driving a lot of manufacturing, operational excellence, business leadership, and many, many accolades. She's passionate about diversity, equity, inclusion, and a great example of how a woman can rise, from being starting her journey as an individual contributor to Cummins today to being the CEO of the CEO at Cummins. And that's how I really now invite Anjali. Anjali, if you can tell your story, how you have achieved it, what has made you to drive ahead into your leadership journey. Obviously, there would have been some of the pitfalls, some of where you would have faced certain diversities, but what made you really going? And please just go ahead and tell your story to us. All over
Great.
to you.
Thank you, Kavita. And thank you, CII. It is such a delight to be joining the series and be the first at it. I understand from Kavita that this is going to be, many such conversations on a regular basis. And the entire idea today, I was thinking as I was just collecting my thoughts on, what I should be sharing in this forum. Because I'm also on a journey. I just want to tell you, there are days which are great and there are days which are not so good. Okay, so experimenting, learning along the way. So I'm meaning the session to be a reflective session, right? I'm going to be sharing some of my stories and my struggles and my wins. And, I want you to see correlations and disparities from your story, right? So where, there are similarities and where there are differences. I certainly want views. I'm very keen on hearing you, questions that you may have along the way. Certainly don't intend this to be a monologue where, I'm preaching the 5 steps to get there or the 7 steps to get there. No, this is, this is sharing and a lot of reflection of what's worked and what's not worked for me personally, and therefore understanding, how do you see it in your journey? So I want to start with just talking about a little bit about my story, right, where it all began. And as I reflect back, these small pieces of reinforcements along, my journey have really helped me and shaped me up as the individual, the professional that I am today. So it all started. My life started in this place called National Defense Academy. So I've spent good formative years of my life in NDA, here in Pune. And in this setup, the setup is a typical middle-class family. So I'm sure all of you will relate to it. It's this team of 5, my father, my mother, and us 3 sisters, right? And I being the eldest in the process. And certainly, a lot of experiments came onto me. But again, all good, in good spirit. The environment at home was that of, nurturing and progressive and supportive, being very clear that hard work is super important, being focused for your goals is super important. I remember my dad saying that, there are opportunities that will knock your door and knock others' doors also. And, what you make out of it is what will be the differentiator and how focused you are and, not distracted in the process and all of that good stuff, right? So, and the baseline, I would say, principle was that of honesty. And the way we defined honesty in my home was when nobody's watching and you're doing the right thing, is being honest. So there's a lot of ownership, accountability, and self-belief, therefore, growing up, right, that got reinforced, and that was because of my parents, my father in particular, living our values right along the way. So I really enjoyed this portion of my life where, there was a lot of shaping up and shepherding that was done by my parents. Both were educators with strong degrees and strong sort of acads. And so, as a consequence, there was also strong emphasis on acads from our side, on our behalf as well. So clearly, I mean, we did well in school and beyond, and it just came very naturally. The big thing that my parents reinforced in me is this aspect of equal opportunity, whether it was in comparison with my male cousins, because, he had 3 girls, he has 3 girls, or in comparison with some other friend who's got a son, right? I mean, just equal opportunity. In fact, best of opportunity. There were times when they provided us opportunities beyond their means, right? And the strong emphasis on education to help shape our young, impressionable minds, right? Just make sure that a good heart, good conscience, right, in this process. So that's really helped me growing up, right? Spent this good years at NDA, and then naturally picked up engineering because it just felt like a good leapfrog for me. Picked up mechanical engineering, production engineering, because it was I've always wanted to touch and feel things, and this stream was quite relatable from that standpoint. I've seen some of my friends pick that up as well, right? So which was a difference because, I passed out in 2001 timeframe, and not a lot of women picked up mechanical production engineering as their branch in engineering there. So I was, but, I enjoyed that bit, and it was very natural for me to join an engine company like Cummins because, all that you've learned, you get to apply here, right? So with that intent, I joined the professional world. Again, the theme has been working hard for my goals, and just challenging the status quo if the need was, and in the attempt, unleashing my own potential, right? Oftentimes we look at how the world's treating me, and what the world needs to improve on, versus thinking about what I need to do better, and how do I need to hone my own skills really to rise to the occasion. And so that is the mode that I was in, and the mode that has really helped me. And with the self-belief that if I really put my heart and mind to something, right, and really stay true to and honest in the process, nothing is which is in the category of impossible. I certainly can achieve it. So that confidence came through pretty clearly. And there came a point where, people started valuing what I had to say, and, what I'm bringing to the table. And one thing led to another, and there's no looking back, right? So it's a very, very good experience that I've had. So, reflecting back, if I have to think about some of the key lessons learned, right? I wouldn't qualify this as success mantra, because this is my journey, and I'm sharing, what I've been through, and therefore the lessons learned from my perspective, right, with this group. One is being curious about how things work, right? So really, what that means is having a learning approach to things, building your knowledge base, your skill set, because if it's about equal opportunity, it's also about equal skills, equal discipline of work, equal knowledge, and all of that, right? So to be this well-rounded, skilled professional who is bringing her best self to work, right? So how to therefore have this curiosity about everything, getting your hands dirty, doing things, learning about things where you're not clear about, right? So early on, I decided that I just, being a production engineer, I need to do production, right, on the machine shop, right? So I went back, right, and asked for a job there, where I was managing, daily production count, right? Things would fall apart, trying to, sort of get maintenance and get them fixed. And it was a tough thing, right? Because the thing was, not a lot of women on the shop floor, right? Where I could sort of share what I'm going through. So that I'd overcome that, right? There was language barrier, very comfortable in English and Hindi, not so much in Marathi, and the shop floor language was Marathi. So I had to learn Marathi, so that I know I'm able to build followership, right? I lead without authority. There's no title, there's no designation, but make little progress every day, right? But I did all of that. And with an approach of all of it being a learning experience, I'm curious about how things get done, and I want to go after that, right? So that's the first bit I want to share with you. Then, next came a stage where you start, enjoying what you're doing, and you start to get creative, right? So I saw this phase where I was very comfortable in my skin on what I'm doing, and I wanted to try new things, right? And very well received. It would surprise me, and really, this is something that I could achieve. It would surprise others, and there came a stage where people wanted my views on things. They wanted to hear and wanted to lead me. Before I was, I thought I had sort of, just about getting ready to understand the job. People were ready to move me right to next jobs, right? And as I was thinking of an example, I felt like, at some stage that my qualification is an engineer, right? And I always think like an engineer, which means that, what is the root cause? What is the issue? How do I fix it, right? What is the control plan, right? So all of this logical bits and pieces pretty good at. But when it came to thinking about business and business decisions, how companies work, how companies are successful, the finance aspect of things, wasn't very confident there. So I decided that I needed to shift gears and pick up a different role. So I decided to pick up internal audit for the finance professionals here on the call, right? You would understand. I mean, the qualification is you need to be a chartered accountant to be successful in internal audit. I mean, the job requirement was that. And I decided to be creative in my interview, right? So I was like, hey, I don't see an audit process different from a failure mode effect analysis, FMEA, right? And control plan and what's going wrong, right, with the control plan. Where is variation coming? And I think they decided that, yeah, maybe we can give it a shot, right, with her. So I picked up that. And believe me, I mean, we talk about coaching and mentoring. During that phase, I had my peers coach me around accounting and, the 3 golden rules of accounting and how to go about it and all of that. And I was coaching them on inventory and production and manufacturing and all of this real synergistic coaching moments, right? So this phase of my career was that about, enjoying what I'm doing and getting creative about, how to really make a difference and bring value to the table. Once I went through all of that, then came a phase of thinking unconstrained, right? Like I felt like after this job and what I had been, I could do any job and I could, think absolutely in a boundaryless manner. And that brought a lot of possibilities, right, in my head. Like as I was thinking about, how to solve bigger issues for the company, I was able to piece things together, think about the whole strategy versus, just my little bit, right? So just broadened perspective, vision, team thinking, right? And then, challenging boundaries, setting the aim, pushing for strategic thinking, all of that happened as well. So this thinking unconstrained and seeing possibilities came along, right, in that phase. And next, came with that is this aspect of feeling empowered and fearless, right? I think, I keep telling my team and folks in my company to say we are people who are working together as owners of the business, right? So this aspect of, there's value that you can bring, and you need to debate whether the course is correct, that the company is taking. You feel the ownership, you feel the accountability. Doesn't require you to have fancy titles of a CEO or whatever else, but it's a state of mind that you're in, by way of which, you feel confident that, okay, I think we just have to move things forward in this manner. Okay, clearly there's a role of safe environment. And so, how I contribute to the safe environment, how others contribute to safe environment, all of that. But essentially this feeling of empowerment and fearlessness, right, is what sort of came in for sure. And then being bold and courageous about it, right? Taking some risks, right? So, then my career shifted into general management type roles, right? Where people felt that, I had sound decision making, right? I had built a lot of skills and I had demonstrated a lot of capability. So it's time for her to lead businesses. And there's always risk and return, right? You're continuously evolving, right? You're continuously evaluating where you are and what needs to change and what is the new data on the table. How do you decide? How do you be agile in the process? And being bold and courageous, right, about taking some of these risks, right, is what I learned in the process, right? To say, lean into the opportunities that are coming your way. There are times when the path is not clear, but, it's important to be decisive and yet be flexible to say if new data, new information comes on the table, right, you are humble enough to say, I made a mistake and I'm going to take a U-turn, right? So I learned that. And last two, I just want to share, surrounding myself with people who are positive, right? Who have my best interest in mind, who are genuinely interested in mentoring and coaching and helping build, myself as well as my skills and, my leadership and all of that, right? So finding mentors along the way was super important. And I had the blessing of having a lot of such people around me who deeply cared about my progress and my success. These people are people from my team who report into me, my peer group as well, and people who are certainly stakeholders, right? So it's a good mesh of network of people who have my best interests and are very, very positive people, right? As I have gone through this journey, I've also taken time to build my family and build my relationships and have fun and travel and things that I like to sort of decouple also from work, right? So I just want to say that that is super important. Catch up on sleep because that's so very critical from a health standpoint, right? So just not being too hard on yourself, right? And resting and having fun along the way as well, right? So just want to summarize to say that being curious, enjoying what you're doing and getting creative, thinking unconstrained, feeling empowered and fearless, being bold and courageous on taking some risks, surrounding yourself with people who deeply care about you, who want to be mentors and coaches to you, and along the way enjoying and the journey as much as the destination, right? Enjoying the journey have been my lessons learned so far, and I've enjoyed every step of the way. Haven't taken anything for granted. I felt like I had to work for everything, and I'm grateful I worked for it. There have been bumps along the way. I can't say everything is a smooth sail. And I want to say I count my blessings every moment. Right? So it's been a great ride, and and this is what I wanted to share with you. And then want to open it up for your reactions and views and questions, and invite Kavita back.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Anjali, and thanks for sharing your story with us. It's a really very good and positive story, and you had great support from your family, and being a part of Cummins. Okay, Cummins also gives a lot of opportunity to all the women leaders, including you, me, and many others. To be there where they are today. But that's unlike many other places in the world today, and also in India. Okay, so I just wanted to ask certain questions, okay, around it. So if you really look at the Indian society, it's quite traditional. There are roles carved. Sorry, I went on mute. So if you look at the Indian society, it's quite traditional, and I think it's almost the same in the world as well, where there are traditional gender roles and stereotypes which are there. Okay, so often women are looked as the primary caregivers, and they are assigned lesser importance in the decision making roles. Okay, it might be for good reasons, it might be for bad reasons, whatever. Okay, and this is a bias which is there, and which makes it difficult for the women to break through a glass ceiling which was very apparent earlier, but now it is less unseen as it is improving. Okay, when women are considered for leadership positions. Your personal experience has been quite positive on it, but can you speak more on giving certain kind of words for all the women leaders across here on how they can really overcome this challenge, how to go about it?
Great. Thank you. And it's a very pertinent question, Kavita, right? As much as my story seems like a smooth sail, it's not been without bumps, like I said. Like, there have been times when, I felt like maybe there was a bias playing out in a, in a customer setting also, right? There's conversation happening with my colleague, not as much with me, right? I mean, those are natural biases that play out on equal opportunity as well. I can't say that, it's been never the case where I felt like, I didn't get that and somebody else got it. And is it really fair? I felt I felt at times that way, right? It's really important that as women, we have the strength of mind, and which we naturally have. I believe it or not, I think the strength of mind is something that I think we are born with, if I have to say that, right? So I know this positive, confident, empowered, fearless state of mind has to be cultivated, right? I was blessed to have a very nurturing childhood where there wasn't, we were all girls, right? My dad was surrounded with women. So he had, and being the person that he is, like, he was very, very supportive and, um, uh, nurturing in the process that helped us see no biases growing up. That may not be the case for others. And so along the way, how do you develop a mind which is, which is constructive, which is positive, which is this empowered state of mind, this fearless state of mind. And I don't think there is one pill, for this issue, right? So I don't want to get prescriptive, but I just want to give you an array of solutions that can be done. That for me, it's really important that knowledge brings a lot of empowerment for me. Does that make sense, right? Like, knowing your job, knowing, the subject matter, preparing for the conversation just brings a lot of empowerment in my head. I start feeling, I start seeing the patterns. I start seeing the, so that could be one, right? How serious and how committed you are to putting in the hours to bring the knowledge back on the table, right, for you. The second bit is calling out bad behaviors, right? I mean, to say that, hey, I don't think, can you see what's going on, right? And, oftentimes you'll notice that it goes unnoticed, right? People, it doesn't even come in people's radar, right? That something of this has happened by way of which, it feels like there's a bias playing out. And so given the intuition that you have, right, how are you able to call out bad behaviors, right? And here, I think at Cummins, we took a journey, right, where we decided to focus on representation, we decided to focus on right environment and all of that, right? And that really helped with this continuous feedback mechanism by way of which bad behaviors that take safety away and bring bias back on the table are completely discouraged, right? So take the initiative to stand up, right, and calling out bad behaviors in the process as well. There is no doubt that mentors always help, right? People who've been there, who've done it before, who are your supporters, your cheerleaders, right? So develop that network of mentors and coaches who can help you. Again, the issue is in the mind, right? The issue, as much as it's in the world, but I think it starts with your mind, right? So how do you get in this positive, fearless, empowered state of mind is super important, right? Because only then you have the tools to deal with the biases and sort of overcome them.
Sure. Thanks for that, Anjali. And I'm sure you are one of the greatest example which I've seen of a fearless mindset. Okay, with various experiences I have had with you. Yeah. So this brings me to my, the second question. It's very natural, with all our societal and cultural norms. Again, not only in India, but globally, where women are expected to prioritize their family and household responsibilities, over their career aspirations. So what has happened with this is it has led to women facing societal pressures, okay, to conform to the traditional gender roles as they move across when they are working in the corporates as well as doing the dual responsibilities at home. Okay, and it makes them challenging sometimes to devote the right time to both their career as well as at home. Okay, and then it really happens for that they tend to take a backseat, okay, somewhere, whether at home or whether. So how do you think that there can be a good amount of, putting up both where a good partnership both at home as well as in the corporate world, okay, and how to still be successful?
Yeah, no, I think this is again a very relevant question, Kavita. I'll tell you how it works in my household, right? Early on, I think there were choices that I had to make to say that whether I want to be career focused or not so career focused, right? So progress, but at lower pace and progress with pace, right? And me and my husband partner, right? I mean, we decided collectively that both of us wanted a high speed career as much as we wanted to build a good family, and have fun, right, together as well, right? So therefore, we came to an understanding of sharing of jobs and responsibility. We came to an understanding of my role in the house, okay, and I think be very pragmatic and objective about it, because there were times when the external setting would come in, right, in your home to say that, hey, who's doing what, and they would have views on, hey, she's not doing as much, she's not available as much, she's traveling too much, right? Is she really caring for her family? And all of those feedbacks and touch points would come. But my husband and my understanding has been pretty straightforward around this, to say that I was like, hey, the biggest currency that you and I have in the process is not money, because money will come, right? Is essentially time, right? You don't have enough time, and so I would rather use our time together in doing family things and family activities, and just being there in terms of building that conversation versus spend time in kitchen, right? So, outsourcing was the name of the game. We've outsourced where I felt like, okay, I don't think I have a passion for it, and it's also eating up my productive time with you, and my son in the process. And so this is something that will be outsourced, right? So, and I think I found a great partner here in him, right? I think there was a mutual understanding where he was also nodding. I have to say there are days where there is complaints, but I've decided to be thick-skinned about it, right? To say the food was not as good, or this was not done properly, or this was not on time. Well, I think we'll deal with it, and I don't get disheveled with that. When I'm traveling, he is taking big loads, right, from the household standpoint, from a family standpoint, and then I have a lot of support system built, whether it is in terms of the home staff that's helping me out, whether it's my my parents, my friends. I think I'm leveraging all the support that is available to be able to equally have career and life, right, in the process. So yeah, long answer, but this is what's worked for me.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Anjali, for being super honest, with what is there, and how to really certain kind of how to really go about it. Okay, while everyone will have their own kind of how they need to really balance at home and at office, but thanks for giving your example on how are you going about it. Okay, so with that, I'll come to my next question. So this question is more on mentorship. Okay, so as women, we face difficulties in having the right mentors. Now, that could be because there are few women at the leadership positions, okay, on whom they can go and speak and get mentorships, or there could also be other men where women shy away from asking for them being mentors. Okay, so how do you look at it, and what do you think the emerging women leaders should do? If they want to seek mentorships?
My view is that, I think being clear about where you are, right? And only you know where you are, right? So just being clear about your own progress map, right? And where you want to get to. That's the ambition, the aspiration that you have. Understanding what are the gaps that are there. So say, for example, it could be functional gaps, it could be skills, right, that are missing, or there could be leadership gaps as well in the process, right? So where is it that there are gaps, and then being very focused about who should be mentoring, right? Because that the title of mentor, right, is an important title for consideration, where there's comfort that you feel with the individual, there is mutual acceptance and respect, right? And you think you're going to be learning something from the individual as well, right? And so a lot of factors actually define who the mentor is going to be. And then, I think if you're really focused on getting there, then this hesitation of reaching out will not be there. And if the person has your interest, right, and does care for you and your success, I think the person will oblige to be your mentor. Okay, so that's how I feel about it. I've never seen a scenario where I've approached somebody with a mentorship request, and person has not obliged it, right, for time constraints or whatever else. And generally, people come from a good place, and they want to help you out. So do reach out. And again, I think if you're clear and really passionate about getting there, then this aspect of hesitation and reaching out will go away. Because the conversation also become very smart and specific to say where do you see yourself, what are the gaps, and where is it that you need mentorship and coaching on. And then you're also building some people in the organization or in the industry to be able to rise and be that bigger leader, right? Because these people have access to resources and networks that's going to help you. And if men can do it, why not women, right? So I just think it in that manner, right? Think, let go of the shyness, the hesitation. Think about it in a very objective manner. And that helps, hone into the zone of actions and, what needs to get done.
Sure. Any example you can take of any of your mentors, Anjali? And
well, a lot of people, I just I don't want to call out the names, okay? But growing up, there are a few people that you sort of look up to, and and they may be formal mentors or informal mentors, right? That's that one conversation that you have with them that is inspiring enough, right? For them to embrace you, right, and you to then look up to them as well, right? So a lot of mentors along the way, functional mentors, leadership mentors, emotional support as well, because there are times that you need those mentors, right, to be listening, to listening to you, right, be that sounding board for you, and that as well, right? So a lot of mentors along the way, right, and men and women both. So.
Sure. And I think with that, Anjali, there is one very pertinent, question which is there in minds of all the people, and all the participants on the webinar. If you could put in your questions on the Q&A, I will take that after I finish these 4 or 5 questions which I had prepared. So feel free to put in the Q&A chat session here, and then I will take it up further. Yeah. So Anjali, with that, I'll go to the next question, which is discussed in everywhere now in COP28, everywhere. Okay. That is the burden of unpaid care work, which is there. And in India, it is anyway very disappropriate. And there, today people do not call it out very vociferously as it has been called out in the world about the, unpaid care work, and which includes household chores, which includes child care, elderly care, and everything. Okay. And is there this additional responsibility limiting the women, first of all, to advance in their careers? And how do you think that women can balance this?
I think, again, if, for me, the way I think about this is, being clear in your head on what is it that you're willing to compromise because you don't think that that's best use of your time, and where is it that you don't want to give away, right? Say, for example, for me, being there for my son, right, and bringing examples of life and values is not something that I want to delegate at all, right? So I want to have those examples shared, those stories shared, these experiences reflected, so I can instill the values that I want to build in him for him to be a successful man, right? And so that I'm not willing to delegate, right? So there is that portion, and it's a care portion, right, of my job as a mother with my son, where I need those interactions, the time together, um, and whether it's through a game of basketball or whatever else, right? I need that time together so we can build a relationship of trust. I can be a sounding board as he processes some of this for himself and share my experiences with him, right? So that's not something that I want to delegate. There are other aspects, right, of giving care, right? Whether it's about the household chores that you said, right, or caring for elders in the family, where you either can pick it on basis how you feel your landscape is looking at from a time standpoint, or get the best that is available, right? Even if it costs you more, right? I think I'll tell you there'll be a return on investment. Okay, I hire somebody for my cooking, my cleaning, and for even caregiving for that matter. A, they are professionals. B, they'll do a good job. You can be the monitoring control around it. You will need to shell out more in the short term, but there is a return on investment waiting to happen. Where because you've been able to get those opportunities, take that risk at the workplace, you're able to get equally compensated through promotions and rewards and recognitions that are coming your way, right? So just being clear-headed on time management, right, is super important. Where to engage, where to disengage, where to delegate, and where to co-create, right? So the one with my son is a co-creation job, right, between me and my husband and elders and whoever else, right, to help him be successful.
Sure. Thanks for Anjali for giving your thoughts on what to really get prioritize, and what to delegate. And with this, I'll just come to the next question, which is more on the gender pay gap. Okay, so it's very pertinent in India again, in terms of women getting paid less as compared to their male counterparts. And sometimes this discourages women in really continuing to, work, first of all, in the corporate world, and secondly, also advance in their careers. So what are your thoughts on this, and how could industries overcome that? Any example from Cummins you could give, in terms of how they are looking to really balance this out?
Yeah. No, I think this is absolutely, I can't say it's not happening. It's happening. It's happening all around me. And I want to say that this is one where you have to raise your voice, right? You have to bring the issue on the table. You have to bring the conflict on the table. You have to be that bold, empowered leader, individual who cares about it and wants to question it, right? So just that is the avatar that you have to sort of embrace. Because it's very convenient to do this, right? It's just convenient to do this. This is men and women, but it also happens with contractual labor and regular labor as well, right? And which is where the governments come up with some of the rules of the game and all of that, right? So it's not right to operate and accept this. It's important to raise your voice and find your voice on this one. At Cummins, I want to say that there is a lot of analytics that is done, to continue to check for this bias, right? Because once you say you've set up the pay parity, but there is increments, there will be promotions, there will be job opportunities, right? And biases can still play despite the company's values, despite the right environment focus and all of that, because growing up years can be very different, right? And so that's still in your mind, and as you work through some of these processes, biases can play. It's super important, therefore, to have a lot of analytics to say, let me look at the cut in terms of how many women got promoted versus how many men got promoted. It's important to see, what has been the wage increment for women versus men, right? It's important to see, all the new opportunities. Are they always been, already always men have been selected, or, there have been women also that have come on board? So as a leader, checking for these matrices is super important to get cues about what's going on, right? Get a functional cut, get a business cut, get all kinds of cut to really establish that is there bias at play, and really, really think hard and see all of the data to say that, is there bias at play? And then investigate, if there's bias at play, don't leave it as it is, right? Investigate, bring the data on the table, call for action, right? Bring the improvements that are needed. And this is a continuous process. I don't think any company can rest, right, on this aspect till we really, really clear that, there are no biases at play. Right. So those would be my two inputs. As an individual, what needs to be done, and as an organization, how you continue to monitor on this cause.
Sure. Thanks, Anjali. And we are in the last 8 minutes of this session. So I'll take, the couple of questions from the audience. So here's the first question, which I see in the Q&A. And you spoke about logical thinking, left side brain thinking. But have you taken advantage of the various training programs to develop the right side of the brain by, say, happy thoughts, etc., help the company and the people to become more effective? So far, Memphis of the companies has been more on the logical part. So there's a lot of this. So how do you look at this, and could you answer this for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so let me say this way. I think the left side is not effective enough if the right side is not engaged, as much. Whether it's working in teams, whether it's working in large corporations, or whether it's working with customers, with stakeholders, right? Both the brains have to be engaged to really bring the right solution to the table. The left side is engaged more as you're growing up in your career, right? And as you actually reach a particular level, the right side, utilization sort of starts going up, because it's about, the right people, how to make and create a culture, the right culture, right? How do you make sure, there's safety in the room? With, what I mean by safety is physical and psychological safety, right? And all of those require creative experiments to be done to say, how do I drive all of these values home to the last mile, right? Where, so this value of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's not enough that Anjali says that or Kavita feels that, and, this forum feels strongly for it. Every individual in my organization needs to see the merit and go after it. And that can't be by only logical thinking. That will require us to engage with people's minds and help build that insight where they truly embrace it in their heart. So in terms of resources that I have used, I think there's an elaborate engagement in our organization to build that. I use a lot of resources in terms of books and internet, etc., that is also available to build my skill on that. And then reflection time, right? Just me time to sit down and say what's really important. How do I message it in a manner where it's appealing and it really registers with people? So it's a great question, and I want to say that it's something that we continue, and I continue to engage.
Sure. Thanks for that, Anjali. And I go to the next question from the participants. The question is, first of all, the participant thanks you for such an open and inspiring session. And the question is how to tackle and absorb criticism at the workplace. Should it let it distract you or discourage you?
Okay, so I think this is something that you'll experience at every stage of your career, right? Whether you're just started your career or at senior levels as well. And different types of people get inspired by different things, right? So some people take criticism very positively, and you're able to deal with it. It gets your mind activated. It's like, you know, you show somebody the fact that, you know, you're in red, right? You measure RYG, and there are people where you say, hey, you're R, right? And that triggers a particular adrenaline, you know, you're wanting to go and correct and make a difference and all of that, right? And then there are others who need positive reinforcements, right? To say that, okay, this is what's appreciation gets them going, you know, and you know, they get energized, they want to do better, and you know, they see the merit. So where I was getting with this is, it's important to, if you're bringing criticism to the table, realize your who the audience is, and accordingly register. And when I am thinking about criticism, I'm thinking about feedback, right? I'm thinking about what is not going well, right? And how do I message it? You want to message it in a manner where the other person actually feels energized about what she is receiving and wants to make a positive difference, right? So that's an art in itself, and how, you know, as organization, we embrace feedback process in a manner which is more constructive is super important. Having said that, you know, I think not everything will be in a control environment, right? So you could get criticism from outside in as well, right? So, or inside, right, from inside as well, and which may not be as structured and as constructive, and it hits you hard. So, you know, my way of dealing with it is to process it, right? To say, you know, who's giving it? Is it coming from a point of care, right? And how much do I need to pay attention to it, right? And just being honest with what is being said, right? I don't think I can bury my head in the sand and say it'll go away. No, it will not go away. I need to address it. And, you know, it just needs that reflection time, at least for me. Right? So I go back, I reflect. Okay, it's coming from a person who really has genuine interest, right, of my well-being. Therefore, what he or she is saying has got the merits. And, you know, what do I need to do about it? What will I be doing about it? And go back and close loop around that, right? If there are better ways of narrating the same message to me, I'm also going to give feedback to say, maybe if you would have said this in this manner, it would be more appealing, because, you know, it just made me overthink. And so it's a lot of engagement of your own mind, and it's a lot of engagement, right, with the individual that is bringing criticism to the table, to share as to what works for you and what doesn't.
Sure. Thanks, Anjali. And with that, I'll come to the last question. So the question is, have you ever faced less assertive reply if seeking promotions after continuous hard work? Okay. And what are the suggestions for us to get ahead of stereotyping and less importance?
Yes. I can't say no to that answer. It is yes, right? There have been times where I feel I'm ready and the organization doesn't feel that I'm ready, right? So somebody once told me that it's almost like a triangulation, right, of that you have to work towards. Of obviously you feeling ready for the promotion and for the job, the organization equally feeling ready for you, and then, you know, there are specific skill sets that you've acquired, or, you know, specific achievements that you've done, which you can then say that, you know, here are the reasons why so and so, and versus I should be given the role. Despite that, there can be biases that play out where, you know, somebody else got selected. It could be male or female versus you, and you feel the triangle, you know, is actually complete from your standpoint, but it's not. It's not what is coming from the stakeholder. So, you know, in my view, it's important to engage to understand what's going on, right? And call out biases if that needs to be called out. I know it's a bold step, but it's important because you are getting worked up around that, right? So you might as well address the elephant in the room, okay, and bring the conversation back on the table with the stakeholder to say, what's going on? What do you want to see in me that's missing? That really requires you to change your view on me, right? So bring that back on the table, and, you know, address it. And, you know, if it's not, then that's not the place for you to be, right? I mean, you try and improve things. If it's not working out, you know, that's not the place to be.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Anjali. And I think with that, I will stop, asking you questions. I really want to thank you for such an open and inspiring session. Okay, where you really focused on how, to be very open on calling out bad behaviors, because that's where many of us lack. We take it as for granted. We take it that, yeah, this is how it is going to be. Okay, rather than calling it out, we tend to step back. That's one. How do we go ahead and, approach mentors and coaches to help us grow, being very, very such fearless, forging partnership with people, not getting disheveled with obstacles on your way. Very, very important to create a support system, because without that, we will not be able to grow in our careers. And being very clear about where you are, being very reflective, being clear, and I think being very focused on what to delegate, what to prioritize. I think these are certain of the things which you gave us as very important pointers on how we could move ahead. So on behalf of the entire participants and CII, I really want to thank you, Anjali, for such an inspiring session. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Kavita.
ma'am.
Yeah, Sarabjit, on to you.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for such an inspiring and very open-ended kind of a conversation where even the participants had a lot to learn from. Yeah.
Thank you.
Over
Thank
to
you.
you, ma'am.
Appreciate.
Sure.
Appreciate
Thank you so
the
much,
invite.
Anjali. Yeah.
Okay. Bye
And
bye.
thank you for being the first on these series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah. See you then.
Bye bye.